Good evening, listeners, brave navigators of the enigmatic and the concealed. Have you ever felt the pull of the unanswered, the allure of the mysteries that shroud our existence? For more than a decade, a unique comic publisher has dared to dive into these mysteries, unafraid of the secrets they might uncover. This audacious entity is Paranoid American. Welcome to the mystifying universe of the Paranoid American podcast.
Launched in the year 2012, Paranoid American has been on a mission to decipher the encrypted secrets of our world. From the unnerving enigma of MK Ultra mind control to the clandestine assemblies of secret societies. From the awe-inspiring frontiers of forbidden technology to the arcane patterns of occult symbols in our very own pop culture. They have committed to unveiling the concealed realities that lie just beneath the surface. Join us as we navigate these intricate landscapes, decoding the hidden scripts of our society and challenging the accepted perceptions of reality.
Folks, I've got a big problem on my hands. There's a company called Paranoid American making all these funny memes and comics. Now, I'm a fair guy. I believe in free speech as long as it doesn't cross the line. And if these AI-generated memes dare to make fun of me, they're crossing the line.
This is your expedition into the realm of the extraordinary, the secret, the shrouded. Come with us as we sift through the world's grand mysteries, question the standardized narratives, and brave the cryptic labyrinth of the concealed truth. So strap yourselves in, broaden your horizons, and steel yourselves for a voyage into the enigmatic heart of the Paranoid American podcast, where each story, every image, every revelation brings us one step closer to the elusive truth.
Hey, another episode Paranoid American podcast. Today I've got Stijn Fawkes from the Greyhorn Pagans podcast. I'll get into in a second where I know him from and like some cool topics that we share in interest. But let me just let you do your plugs up front and tell people where they can find you before we get deep into any tangents.
Yeah, for sure. First of all, thanks for having me. Stijn Fawkes, Greyhorn Pagans podcast. Still a smaller independent podcaster. You can find us on YouTube. That's where most of that's the main platform for like the video podcasting. Spreaker, all the bigger podcasting platforms. All of them just more easily found through our website, www.greyhornpagans.com. We do everything paganism, witchcraft, mysticism, hidden history, just, weird out there conspiracies, especially pertaining to hidden history, like Tartaria, for example, or the different. That's one of my favorite rabbit holes and one that I always get lost in. And then, of course, the topic that that I first got to know you with, the Bok Saga.
Yeah, don't blow your whole load too quick. We got to save it.
No.
The essence for the interview. We'll get there.
Of course. Yeah, no. So, a whole lot of that. I have had many interesting people on. A lot of people that that we have in common. I've had one on, of course, to talk about homunculus. That's such a, like, speaking of weird rabbit holes, that's a good one. Nick from the Occult Rejects, just like so many other interesting people and awesome stories and weird stories and stories that I never even knew, never even thought about. So cool. Yeah, Greyhorn Pagans podcast, just find it or, look me up at Stijn Fawkes. Just anywhere on the internet. I left quite the digital footprint already.
And we'll get all the links and everything in the normal spot, so anyone wants to find it. But yeah, just search for Greyhorn Pagans podcast. And let me just start with, what the hell is a greyhorn, and what the hell is a pagan, and what the hell is a greyhorn pagan?
Oh man, that's a whole history. It's a lot of
3 words or less.
Sorry?
3 words or less. Every answer.
Oh Christ.
That's 3 words right there. Oh Christ. No, really. Let's start with, what do you consider a pagan? Because I say pagan in some circles, and I'll hear like, pagan doesn't actually mean anything. It just means that they weren't like a Christian at a certain point in time. Like, but pagan is like a very loaded term. So
it's
when you say pagan, what do you mean? What is that like a representation of?
I guess in the most like the broadest that I can take it is polytheist. So you could say that even like the African tribes who still have their weird as gods, that they're pagans, they're just African pagans. But for me, pagan is it's not necessarily it's not a religion. I've had that question often. Like, what, like, is it a religion? Like, do you have a holy book? No, we don't. So yeah, polytheist, and it's a way of living, a more traditional way of living, I'd say.
Well, that's a very important, I think, like specification you got there, like the definition that it's not a religion. Pagan isn't a religion. I guess in my mind, if someone's like, yes, I'm pagan, I don't think that their religion is pagan, but I do think that they have a religion, and that religion could be considered pagan. Am I off base on, like, could you be a pagan and just have no religion at all?
Well, religion, I mean, most times when we talk about religion, we talk about a organized form of religion, think Christianity.
I think it can be organized of one. I think one person. I guess, yeah. We have to keep defining words until there's a common ground.
Yeah,
right?
no, absolutely. I guess
that you heard it from somewhere, or you made it up yourself. In the case of like a Bok Saga type thing, but over time you come up with, I guess, maybe dogma is too loaded of a word, but you come up with like a set of rules. Here's how I worship my gods. Here's how I define morality. And once you have just even if just like a rough idea in your mind, and you're like, I'm going to live my life according to this because I believe in some afterlife or supernatural aspect, I guess I would consider that as checking all the boxes of religion. Doesn't have to be a church. Doesn't have to be like a whole bunch of people.
I guess in that way, paganism definitely has religious influences. It can definitely be classified as a religion. We like to say that it's not a religion, but there definitely are religious practices. Worships, certain offerings on certain dates, mostly like on the solstices is very important. We now have Imbolc coming up, of course, or that is tonight actually. So yeah, we have we definitely have like certain standard practices, if you will, but they're not. They're free to each to interpret. Like I'm a Germanic pagan myself. I believe in the Norse Germanic gods. I don't know anyone who practices it the same way that I do.
So, well, you mentioned another good example that technically a West African tribe that's polytheistic could be considered pagan under like that umbrella term. I was going to ask, like, what flavor pagan are you? And you kind of mentioned like Germanic pagan. Yeah. Is there a name for that? Like, is it more specific? Or if I just went and I was like, hey, looking for Germanic pagan bandmates, would I find more Stijn Fawkes out there?
No, luckily there's only one of me, even though I have a son. So
yeah.
There's like 1.5 of me then, I guess. I think you'd find the best results under Asatru. That's
come again?
Asatru, ASATRU.
Asatru.
Yeah, that's the it's kind of the more organized form of Germanic paganism, but it's
How organized?
Yeah.
Is there a brick and mortar you can go to in the physical world that represents it?
Some groups definitely have it. When I first discovered the path, I joined the Asatru community. They definitely are a registered community. Have the whole paperwork done and everything officially recognized. And I do believe they have like a brick and mortar location. So yeah, that definitely is an option, but it's more just separate groups within Asatru, not Asatru as a whole. Like there's not one Asatru church that you can go to. It's not how that works, not how our religion works.
Well, and how do you feel about potentially risking the damnation of your eternal soul by just picking the wrong pagan religion here? Like, why not just go to the true one in God, Jesus Christ? Just accept him into your heart and save yourself from, hellfire forever. Like, where were you at on Pascal's wager? You were just like, not worth it.
Well, I tried to do the whole Christian thing, of course, because it is so easily accessible, and there is a lot of information about, and it's just easy to do. But it never felt right for me. It never felt like the right religion. It never felt like the right God, especially being Dutch, being Northern European. We still have a lot of the stories of our gods and our ancestors. I guess it's funny, I do acknowledge the teachings of Christ. I do acknowledge that the whole mystery school aspect of it is valuable. There is definitely value to be had in his teachings. It's just not for me. I don't feel at home with it.
So your home is eternal damn fire. Got it.
I mean, if that is the case, then that's the case, and I'll deal with it then and there, I guess. If I was wrong, and I'll admit it.
So yeah, those dinosaurs were so convincing. Well, actually, I don't. Yeah, let me just jump there. Do you believe in dinosaurs? Where are you at on that?
Oh,
I know there's like no real segue to that. I got to get it out.
I do question it because of all the skeletons that we have. They're all put together from multiple skeletons, and a lot of it is just made. A lot of plaster, like the pieces that we don't have, we just make. So I believe there were these gigantic beings that walked the earth at some time. Were they dinosaurs? I mean, that's how we know them. Did they look like we think they looked? No, definitely not. Like giant lizards. I don't know. Doesn't seem likely to me.
Okay,
I believe in giant beings, just not necessarily giant lizards.
We're going to circle all the way back around there much later. But okay, so I got your definition of pagan. Now, what the hell is a Greyhorn? Is this specific to your particular flavor of paganism?
It is my flavor of paganism. The Greyhorn Pagans is a tribe that I started myself together with my wife after being in a lot of communities, having joined and enjoyed a lot of different heathen Viking pagan groups. I felt like I had learned all I could learn from others, and whenever I joined a new community, for some reason it all went to shit. And I don't know if it's me or just circumstances.
Like your relationship with it went to shit, or the entire group as a whole went to shit?
Both.
Maybe you're the common denominator here.
Well, that seems so. I guess I have some shadow work to do. No, so I got sick and tired of that happening, and I was like, I have enough experience. I'm gonna do this myself. I'm gonna, like start my own group, start my own tribe for, seekers, for people who want to learn more, who want to, or even those people who have been walking the path for years. Like, everybody is welcome. We're very open, very diverse, and for a lot of people, they, even though we are still mostly online, they found a second home within the tribe, made a lot of friends within the tribe. So it is like truly my own personal flavor of Germanic paganism, purely because it's the tribe that my wife and I started.
For all the other pagan groups that you kind of went through and just like left burning on your way out, right? All these different ones that exploded, but are any of these classified as, say, like secret societies? Do you learn information that you take an oath? Okay, so if you don't, you're shaking your head no. So let me ask you, like, what is the most profound information that you were able to derive from some of these groups? Like, do you have like a top one or a top three of like, wow, I never would have learned this, or at least not as quickly, if I hadn't joined a group versus just buying books on Amazon and reading archive.org?
It's been 10, 13 years since I found the path. I have seen, heard, and done a lot. I think the most beautiful thing were the days that I spent with another Dutch tribe of the Fawkes. They organize a lot of ceremonies. They'll do entire days dedicated to one topic. The most awesome that I was at recently was about Odin, Wotan, and the Berserkers, and they did a whole ancestral ritual, a guided meditation, in which you were guided to find your own spirit animal. I don't think I would have gone to that event if it wasn't for just wanting to find different groups and joining different groups.
Did you find your spirit animal?
Yeah. The wolf is my wife's spirit animal. But one animal that I have long felt close to is the crow, actually. And that really all started with the film The Crow, the original one, like the 1996 one, not the newest one. That like really got me interested in the more alternative, like gothic metal side of life. And I think if it wasn't for my interest in like gothic and metal and such, that I also wouldn't have found paganism. So the crow is really the animal that did the most for me, that truly put me on the path that I am on now.
When you think back to that guided meditation at this like really profound experience, you're talking about berserkers and Odin, do you remember what the steps were to find your animal? I'm assuming it wasn't just like look into this pocket watch. Okay, think of an animal.
It was no stage magic. This was actual magic. No, it was a guided meditation with drums and chanting. You were told to close your eyes. It helps you focus. If there are no other visuals, then you were told to visualize a dark wood and a open like a clearing in the middle of the woods. In the middle of that clearing, a large fire with a kettle hanging above it. From the woods coming a white witch who poured water on the fire, creating a huge steam cloud, and in that steam cloud would manifest your spirit animal. And you were told to all visualize that. Like, don't think about it, and don't, because that's the trick with some of these. Like, don't look for this. Sometimes you're expecting to find something. And if you're expecting to find something, yeah, you'll find that because you're expecting to find it. So yeah, you are manifesting it, but it's not it's like a predetermined manifestation.
Yeah, it would be really hard to go into that completely blind. Like, if you're picking your spirit animal, because now you're thinking like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if it was a XYZ? And now all those options are sort of like becoming part of the possible.
Yeah, but
spontaneously show up.
That is very true. Especially there are certain animals that are like very important to not just to us here in Europe already, especially for the North Germanic pagans. The wolf, the crow, the owl. So you're like at the very beginning, you're kind of expecting to see those because those are the most important animals, but it's then during meditation, it is important to pull back and kind of feel within yourself, think within yourself, like, is this really what I'm seeing, or is this what I am expecting to see?
And how does all of this manifest in your daily life currently? Do you have do you do anything specific with like crow feathers, or do you have like a magical ritual when you wake up in the morning? Are you do you sacrifice animals on like the equinox?
No, that is unfortunately highly frowned upon. It is really not that easy anymore.
Really, but animal sacrifice?
The law doesn't like it when you do that. Let's say
which law are we talking about here?
Dutch law.
Okay. All right.
I mean, just religious law is something else entirely. Like, they don't care as long as it's, like for a ritual and not just senseless killing. There definitely are still pagan groups, pagan tribes who do those animal sacrifices. Now, for me, the spirit animal I don't work as much with, other than that I have a crow tattooed on my right arm and a wolf on my left arm. But my daily ritual is more guided towards the god Thor, the god of thunder, the strongest of all the gods.
The guy from the Avengers. Yeah, I know all about him.
Well, I did like to knock Marvel for that. Like, oh, that's not how Thor looks, and oh, that's fucking ridiculous. But then, like, keeping in the back of my mind that my awakening to this pagan path was History Vikings, History Channel Vikings, which is very Hollywood and very still a lot of inaccuracies. But like, that was my holy shit, like, what is this? I want to know more. This feels so cool and this feels so right. So if for somebody else Marvel's Thor or Odin or whoever is the catalyst for their awakening, I can't knock it. Although I do not like his representation in the Marvel movies. He's a bit of a pussy.
What about Loki?
Oh, Loki's a bastard. Loki is a bastard. I think out of all the Marvel movies, Loki is portrayed the best. Loki doesn't care. It's all about him. And if it's not about him, he'll make it about him.
So, I mean, this is one of the most obvious comparisons ever, but usually I'll hear Thor and Loki almost as like God and Satan, or Jesus and the devil or something, and that. So tell me, like, what are like the main differences if that comparison were to come up? How, like, we'll start with Loki and Satan. How is Loki and Satan not the same archetype?
Because first of all, there is no such thing as Satan in European paganism.
I guess if we were to agree on what the archetype represents, like some sort of troublemaker, ruler of the material domain, eternal liar, all of those things,
then I definitely have to agree that much of what we now recognize as Satan can also be found in Loki. But Loki doesn't do all those things. He doesn't, lie, cheat, steal, and not in the awesome Eddie Guerrero kind of way. But because he's evil, he's just selfish. He's self-centered. He'll lie and cheat and steal and do all those things because he thinks it's funny or because it benefits him. It's not. I guess that's the best way I can describe it. It's not evil. It's just self-centered.
So are there any pagan groups that you know of that venerate Loki? Like Loki is their god, or does it not work that way?
Probably. I'm gonna assume they are out there. It'd be really dumb to do so because Loki is a he's technically not even a god. You could see him as a god. He is often seen as God, but he's not. But he is a being of chaos. So to worship a being of chaos, not the smartest thing to do. But then again, we're talking about humans venerating gods. Not all humans are the smartest. So I'm going to assume there are groups. I highly recommend they don't, but
would they just not just be a bunch of chaos magicians that are just celebrating chaos magic in general, almost like Crowleyan style, like Thelema or something?
Then Loki would fit perfectly with that. Yeah, Loki would absolutely.
Are there any risks? Is there any danger you're putting yourself? Let's say, aside from the fact that you're going to run into like some hardcore chaos magicians that just might screw up your life in general from a pragmatic standpoint, but is there any like spiritual or afterlife considerations that would be like, oh, don't venerate Loki because this will happen?
I mean, you won't get punished for it. There is no lake of fire and brimstone.
That's boring.
Yeah, I mean, that's not to say we don't have like realms where you do get punished, or realms that are
eternally. Do any of those last eternally, or are they all just
absolutely.
Really?
Absolutely.
What's a version of eternal damnation then within like your Germanic paganism?
To be forever chewed on by the dragon Nidhogg, who lives at the bottom of Yggdrasil. But that is a punishment reserved for the worst of the worst. But
is there a definition for that? Like, if I embezzle a bunch of money, do I get into that? Do I have to like harm people?
No, it's Germanic paganism or European paganism is really a honor culture as well. So if you are dishonest, if you are if you're a liar, if like everything you say is a lie, if you break your oath, if you break your word, it's like it's not immediately over for you. It's not as with Christianity, like you commit one sin and it's like, well, that's it. No heaven for you.
You got to say you're sorry. It's not that hard.
Yeah, no, that's true. It's like, okay, I repent. Okay, good.
Do a few Hail Marys. It's actually not that big of a deal. You can do anything you want.
Pay your tithing, maybe a little extra.
Let's not get crazy here.
No, but so really for oath breakers, liars, just horrible horrible people who do inflict harm on others. I guess murderers.
But what if it's like a Dexter murderer? What if like you only kill other serial killers or something, but you lie about it?
Oh wow, that is very hypothetically. No, I like it. It's a good brain worm. It's a
because I'm assuming there's also not necessarily like a 10 commandments that list in order. Here's like the bad to the worst. So like stay up in these top like 3 area. Don't get down into like 7, 8, and 9. That's a little.
No, definitely not. We have a more modern version, if you will, in the 9 noble virtues of Odin. But like I said, that's really a modern invention, I think, of the last like 40, maybe 50 years. We really don't have like the commandments or like rules to live by. It's basically just, be a good person. Take care of yourself, take care of your family, take care of your kin, love each other. It's very, very basic. Just be a good person. That's it.
Okay, but, fair point. I mean, I feel like I've got a decent idea of where Stijn Fawkes is coming from and the Greyhorn pagan tribe. And you said you've dabbled in Christianity. Have you dabbled in any other mainstream religions?
No, not really. I know I have.
How do you know you didn't miss the right one? How do you know it's like not Buddhism and you just haven't given? How do you know it's not Mormonism and you just haven't given it a fair shake yet? Wow, your laughing sort of answers that a little bit.
From what I heard from Heidi, Mormonism definitely is not for me.
It's the most pagan of any kind of Christian subdivision, at least recent.
I'd say that's Catholicism, because Catholicism is basically, they looked at paganism as like, hey, can I copy your homework? It's like, yeah, cool, but like change it up a little bit so it doesn't look like you copied it.
I would say Catholicism is sort of like the prime plus. Like they remake all of the old movies and like they put Michael Bay in the director's seat for every single one of them. Like they pull out all the stops, unlimited budget.
Yeah, pretty much. Like a billionaire backing, and yeah.
You don't like billionaire based movies? You don't like movies with high production value?
I don't watch a lot of popular media anymore anyway. So, I mean, if it's a good movie, I don't really care who's backing it.
So you're fairly open to, and it seems like a lot of your interest lie in the type of topics that come up in these sort of like European pagan circles, right? So
yeah, I mean, I am interested in learning about other religions. Buddhism I do find interesting because it's it looks a lot like paganism. Some people will call it like the paganism of the East, when it kind of split off, like the Indo-Europeans split off. In Europe, it manifested itself as Hellenic paganism, Roman paganism, Norse Germanic, and in the East it was Buddhism, Hinduism. So it's similar, but not the same. And I prefer to stick to the gods of my land, the gods of my people. So
yeah, that's also a really interesting dynamic here. Just regionally, how much your geographic locale has an influence on what you think happens in the afterlife for everybody, like almost universally, right?
Yeah, it definitely does. And that's why I find it a bit of a shame that like whenever we're talking about like spirituality, everyone is always looking east. It's like as if we don't have our own forms of spirituality here in the West. Like you could say there's even like an American form of paganism. Like you have your stories, you have your your giant beings, You have your kind of your gods of the American lands, you know?
Speaking of that, I'm actually really interested. Do you have a regional version of Bigfoot?
I don't think necessarily.
Or like Bigfoot. A large, hairy, wild man / creature?
We probably do. I think that's really a global phenomenon. I'm just not sure about the Netherlands if we have one.
It seems like whenever they're, like you say, it's a global sort of phenomenon, this global archetype, but there do seem to be slight specific differences when you go almost country to country. I mean, in the States, it's almost like from state to state, the definition of Bigfoot changes. Like if you're in Florida, then it's like a swamp ape and they have like a different scent to it. But if you're, in the Midwest, they have yet another unique sort of characteristic to it.
Yeah, no, and I think that's that's nature. That's human nature. Like you're going to relate it to the things you know, and like what do you know best? Well, the things that you see around you. So yeah, if you're living in a swampy area, then of course that creature is also going to live in a swampy area, because why wouldn't it? Like the Yeti is not going to live in Florida. That doesn't fit. The Yeti lives high up in the snowy mountains, but still, it's kind of the same being.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, yeah, there's New Yorkers living in Florida and vice versa. So why couldn't Bigfoot move climates and just change his name a little bit?
Yeah, sure. No, why not? Bigfoot needs a holiday as well.
Well, we will get into the topic that me and you met over, because that one is sort of a really interesting, like, new flavor of paganism that I hadn't come across before. That one particular subject aside, are there any that you've been introduced to through your own podcast over the last, year or whatever, that really sparked your interest? Like any new leads on stuff that captured your fascination?
Well, I'm always fascinated by the work of Tom Rousel from Survive the Jive. I have been very fortunate to have him on my channel. He does a lot of good work with genealogy as well, so that's always very interesting. I will always love talking about Tartaria, just and everything that you can like connect to it.
How hardcore Tartarian are you? Are we like mud flood, like melted building mountain people, and like giants melted into mountains? Like where is everything on the table for you?
Yeah, like everything. It's not that I do believe all of that, but I'll talk about it. The weirder the better.
So I guess if we start with the weirdest claim of Tartaria, and my understanding is very surface level, so I paint in very broad strokes, maybe offensively so to any hardcore Tartariist or Tartarian. So I'm wondering, is the main theory about you look at a mountain range and you see a face in it, and there are some claims that like the actual terrain are giants that lay down and they sort of like petrified themselves, and you're literally looking at a giant's body and you're climbing on their head when you're climbing that mountain. Do you know where like the origins from this come from? Do you have any examples of like what makes this compelling?
I think a lot of it is also just a case of like what's that called, pareidolia, like just seeing phases in things, and like a lot of that and make believe. But I also, since giants were a thing, maybe still are, And yeah, like why could they not be petrified in the mountains? There are stories from all over the world of petrified beings, like even as simple as like the Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings. When the sun rises, the trolls turn into stone. So why couldn't something like that have actually happened? It's a little far-fetched, but it's fun to think about.
Am I correct in grouping that into Tartaria theory, or is that completely removed from it?
It's one offshoot of it. Yeah, like Tartaria, so many things can be classified under the
I'm interested
greater
in
Tartaria conspiracy.
I'd love to know ones that I haven't heard about. So, like, I guess the giant mountains is one of them. The other one is that large buildings were literally melted by some high heat. I'm going to say laser. I know that's an oversimplification, but that somehow like a laser melted huge buildings, and those buildings turn into also mountains in some cases.
Yeah, castles to be exact, just giant castles. And that part of the theory is actually a lot of people will connect it to biblical stories, because at some part in the Bible, I haven't read it, I wouldn't know, but it talks about a fervent heat, like just so incredibly hot that like people and beings have to flee underground. And then the thought is like, but if it's like literally so incredibly hot that the surface of the earth has become unlivable, this looks molten. Like there are certain in I believe in Turkey, like Turkey-Syria border. I don't know exactly where, but it looks like just mountainous, just mountains that look like candles, like like molten candles in a way, but like only from the top down. So people are kind of theorizing, fantasizing. Oh, it must have been because of some enormous source of heat, whether it be a laser or like a biblical apocalypse kind of thing, and it has molten it like from the top down, and that's why it looks like that. That is definitely one part of it. The mountains are castles is interesting, or even it's a more well-known one, the Devil's Tower, that used to be like a giant tree,
right?
It kind of looks like a tree stump, and there are some people who take that even further, like to the insane degree almost, and will say that continents as a whole used to be giant trees. That's a little.
So they were just like 7 big trees at some point, and they all got chopped down.
I guess so. Like not taking into account like Pangea and all of that.
Well, Pangea just would have been one big tree, right? And we're just like living in the root system.
Probably, and then it got broken into several pieces over the millions of years. I have no idea how that would have worked.
What about the technological claims of Tartaria? I'm also very murky on, but like when we say lasers, for example, there are some iterations that I'm grasping at, but when it implied this was a technological laser, not just some hole in the ozone or like a sun flare that a solar flare that like created this melting effect, but that technology might have been behind it. And then I guess sort of adjacent to that is the idea that this Tartarian empire had some sort of Atlantean or very what we might consider like advanced technology beyond what we even have now. How much of that do I have accurate?
A lot. That's the broad spectrum of it all. But I think this is more my my personal opinion that it's not really technology. If we like technology as we know it, like I'm sitting here behind technology. I have technology in my head looking at technology.
Well, to be fair, I guess I would consider like a hammer technology or a monkey sticking a stick into an anthill. That's technically technology.
True. It's in support, so yeah, it is technology. No, but I it's more. Oh God, how do I explain this? Like more. It's kind of another part, coming with the free energy and all, and free energy regeneration. It's more
Is that one of the claims of Tartarian technology, that they had free supplies of free energy?
Yeah, and that's that's why you see the huge spires on churches. That is supposed to be like where they would catch and gather and like process in some kind of alchemical process the energy in the ether, in the skies, because like everything is electric. We are electric beings. Electricity is all around us, and in some advanced technological way they managed to harness that, so they had like true free electricity and true free energy, like the kinds that Nikola Tesla used to speak about.
Right. This is like the spires are almost indicating like they're tapping into the ionosphere and somehow harvesting that energy. And I've also seen this particular line of thinking dovetail into the comparison of cities and circuit boards. And just even from like a visual aspect, where someone will be like, look, the city is a circuit board because they both kind of like run energy around certain ways. Is that like a very Tartarian claim?
That is definitely a larger part of it. When you speak about Tartaria and technology, that is usually what people mean.
Okay, so those are the most novel elements of Tartarian theory that I've come across. Am I leaving any like really good ones on the table? Are there other aspects of Tartaria that would also be like, wow, what?
Yeah, cymatics, the power of sound and the healing power of sound. Like that's one of my favorites. Actually, one of my favorite parts, that the churches as we know them now, with the huge like rose windows, like very intricate patterns, that those are sound patterns that you can recreate with like a vibrational table and sand. Like they are sound vibrational patterns, and that like through the like the church bells, for example, and the brass organ in combination, or somehow in combination with those rose windows, that churches would act as not centers of religion and faith, but healing, like healing through just energy and vibration. And that is why people would go like ecstatic in church, or what we now know as church. And later on, when the Christian church and everyone like took over, because they took over Europe, they're the eternal bad guys, they just were like, oh no, we're going to use this now, and just as in, we're going to use it for worshiping our lords, like somewhere high up in the sky, and we're going to like keep the technology hidden. It's also like one big conspiracy and all. But like the power of cymatics, the power of sounds, you can also use it for levitation, for example. Certain sound waves cause levitation, or can and that's like, for example, also one of the theories of how the Great Pyramids were built partly or as a whole through the use of cymatics, of sound vibrations.
Yeah, there's also a location here in Florida called Coral Castle, which invites all sorts of speculation on that exact topic. That was he using some kind of complicated, like vibrational technology to lift these things in the middle of the night? So yeah.
Yeah.
You mentioned one thing there that actually piqued my interest, that Christianity is seen as this like enemy, like this is like the empire moving through Europe and sort of taking everything and repurposing it and stealing their technology and hiding it.
Yeah.
Where are you at on that actual theory? How much do you agree with that concept that Christianity was like, oh, nice technology you got there, I'm stealing it, I'm hiding it, I'm using it for my own gods?
There's probably some truth to it. Like whatever is not Christian, whatever doesn't, benefit them, they probably either, took or destroyed or converted in some way. But I don't believe it is this grand, almost global conspiracy, and that they are, that they're hiding everything and they don't want you to know that. And I mean, it makes for, incredibly good clickbait titles.
Specifically, what do you think the chances are that the church knows how to levitate stone through vibration, and they're just keeping that technology hidden from the entire world for the last 2,000 plus years?
Like somewhere in the Vatican archives or something, No, I don't think they do. I don't think that, during that reset, if you will, that's how, how they prefer to call it, a great reset, that, they probably didn't even know what it was. They probably didn't. They were probably told like, oh yeah, no, we're using it for this. Okay, but we don't know how it works. It's, we can't use it, so we're just gonna like either do nothing with it, just leave it be, or we're gonna destroy it, because that's also what humans do. If we don't know it, we destroy it.
In these I'm gonna say like in Tartarian circles, as if like you drive around and you like meet them on every Saturday or something, but like the other communities and the other people or podcasts or anything where Tartaria is like, they're sympathetic to it, not just as a morbid curiosity, but like, hey, I think there's something to this, let's look into it. What are the thoughts on Atlantis? Is Atlantis just like the Greek whitewashed version of another Tartaria, or is Atlantis its own story that just happens to have a similar reset like structure to it?
Usually it's considered as its own kingdom, its own realm, its own story. As you said, like, yeah, there definitely are people who are like, oh, it's ancient Atlantean or ancient Hyperborean technology or something. But
right, they had like hover jets and they had like teleportation devices and who knows?
Energy,
yeah,
all that like ET stuff. No, usually those two are separated.
And one of the other things that maybe gets conflated with Tartarian thought too is the concept of flat Earth, that like part of this great reset and part of this knowledge and technology that gets wiped out and hidden is also the concept of flat Earth, and that we've all been sold on this spherical Earth.
Yeah, that is definitely another. Like,
can you be a Tartarian but believe in the globe? Or is that like a minority?
I don't know. I think flat earthers, there's something not entirely right with them, to put it very mildly. But I don't. It's I don't know, man. You have so many people believing so many.
Okay, so these are not mutually exclusive things, but also it doesn't. You don't have to believe in flat Earth if you're Tartarian and vice versa.
some people will say that, yes, like if you're, a real Tartarian, like you have to believe in flat Earth, and others just really don't care. It's not a must, It's not like one of the rules that if you want to research or look into Tartaria, or if you want to believe it, you have to also believe in flat Earth. I don't believe it's like a fixed rule, and if it is, I'm breaking it from the very beginning.
Right. I mean, I detect a little bit of criticism over flat Earth theory from you. Where are you at on this?
I don't care about the shape of the Earth.
You don't think that there's profound sort of consequences for whether or not we live on a spherical object versus an infinite plane?
We live in a realm that is the best I can make of it. We live in a physical realm on something we have called a planet that we call Earth, even though like 77% of it is water.
Well, see, that claim right alone though almost seems like contrary to some versions of flat Earth, because some versions of flat Earth, we do live on an infinite plane, and therefore you wouldn't be able to say that our planet is X% water because it's infinite. You can't really separate infinity into categories like that.
No, that's true. No, I I stay away from that discussion. Round Earth, flat Earth, hollow Earth, donut shaped, cigar shaped. I really, I don't care. It's not important to me, and I don't think it's really helping anyone. We're still getting fucked over by just.
You're right. You're absolutely right. If I could just make a very hypothetical, non-practical case, but to me, I guess the fascination is literally the difference between infinite resources and real estate versus a finite amount. And those two things seem it would affect all of society, in very substantial ways. If someone was like, no, don't worry about it. We've got infinite water and we've got infinite land. It just goes on forever. We're just kind of cordoned off to this little area for now so we don't screw up the rest of it. That does seem like it would be profound.
Yeah, like if that's the case, then yeah, absolutely. If there are, let's say there is indeed an ice wall, and let's say that, that's also a part of flat Earth. I believe that the ice wall is not the end. It's just what separates, the lands that we know from the other lands beyond the ice wall. That would be a shocking discovery, and that would mean that precious metals may not be as precious. That fossil fuels may indeed not be so finite as we think.
And you can litter as much as you want. Like eventually that trash will blow away to some place you'll never even visit.
Yeah, I mean, like we have freaking trash islands floating around in the ocean already. Like, why not a whole trash realm?
I mean, maybe that's where we are at. We just don't realize it. Like we're literally living in the trash realm.
I unfortunately can get behind that idea. No, but it's interesting to think about. Is there more than we know? Is there more than than we have been told? Is NASA like lying to us about?
Well, I mean, yeah. Isn't their name literally translates to lie or deception?
I believe so. Yeah, I believe so. And no, of course they're not. They're not telling the truth, or at least not the full truth. So yeah, take it with a grain of salt. But just all the theories and excuses that some of those flat earthers will come up with, it's exhausting. Like even if there are photographs made from what technically would be space, It's, always with a fisheye lens. All those pictures are made with a fisheye lens, and that's why you see the curve. But the curve is actually not there. That's also just another conspiracy. It's so everything's a conspiracy with those guys.
It is. Okay, so another to tie up sort of some of those Tartarian theories, you mentioned a key word, which was reset. And reset, I guess the way that I've understood this in Tartarian theory is an intentional reset. Like somebody decided to shake the Etch-a-Sketch and clear the playing field again. But these global resets, they tend to be mentioned in that humanity reached a certain level of technology, or in this case, a Tartarian empire reached a certain level of understanding and technology and knowledge, and somebody other than the Tartarians decided, hey, you guys are getting a little too big for your britches. We're going to go ahead and knock you down a few pegs and see, like let's even the playing field a little bit. Do I have that somewhat correct? And if so, you're nodding yes a little bit. Who is the away team in this case? Like, is this the Catholic Church? Is this just like everyone but Tartaria?
That's a good one. I don't know. Actually, I've never really looked into who's the bad guy. Who is pushing the reset button. I've never really
is
looked
there a chance
into.
It could be God? And if you just were to speculate now without,
I would indeed say that probably the most common theory would be that it is some higher being or some
like a Tower of Babel kind of situation.
Yeah, for example. Yeah. Since history does repeat itself, that might just be it. Could be God, could be the devil, could be, I don't know, aliens, could be a higher being of some kind that disagrees with what we do, that is perhaps is indeed like scared that we reach levels of godhood in that way, because that is what most what a lot of people are trying to do with technology or with religion. We're trying to attain godhood or just immortality in some way. And I can definitely imagine there's some higher being that's like, no, we're just gonna a do-over.
Well, in the more, I guess, modern versions of this like reset theory, I've heard ideas that say like cathedrals in Europe, that those were already there and then just like taken over. Like nobody in medieval times built those, that they had been there for way longer. Yeah. And I guess in America, it gets even more acute in that they say like the buildings in Chicago that were claimed to have been built in the early 1900s, that they were already there, and that some of the large, like the World Fairs, were these covers for this new establishment to come in. So I guess in the World Fair version of this, there is kind of a bad guy, but I guess I'm not really sure. It just seems like it's like the Rockefellers or the Morgans or whoever was throwing these big fairs.
The usual suspects. But I think like by saying that, like, I do believe that, with a reset, things do get left behind. Either they are, they're buried or, flooded or whatever, things do get left behind. But I also think it is taking a lot of credit away to or from like our ancestors or, the people who were there, who did live in those times, to say that like, oh no, they did not create that. I mean, we are capable of amazing things. Amazing.
What about the pyramids? Do you think humans made the pyramids, or do you think that was assisted by like some supernatural or extraterrestrial intervention?
Yeah, probably more so supernatural than extraterrestrial, but I believe it was mankind who who built it. I don't think it was aliens. I don't think it was, anything else than humans.
Do you think cymatics?
I think part of it. Yeah, I think that is it is a likely explanation. I have no idea how that could work with, multi-ton blocks, but it is a theory that is out there. It is a possibility. There is a lot that we don't know, and there is even more that we have forgotten. So
this might be almost like an American centric way of thinking. So I'm just curious, if I were to piecemeal it out, growing up in like American pop culture and like learning about occultism, it usually dovetails into like Satanism, and then from Satanism you kind of get a lot of conspiracy theory and stuff. It just amounts to don't trust any authority figure, and then that leads into like conspiratorial and occultism, almost like as one big ball. It took me a while to separate those two and realize that there's, like conspiracy theories can be completely secular from any sort of supernatural or occult stuff. How, like, where are you on conspiracy theories? Like, do you find that you are as receptive to topics about occultism as conspiracy theories, or are you like more in favor of one or the other?
I like the occult topics better because they it's probably the mystical part of it, that seems so, it's so out of this world. It's so strange and different, and conspiracy theories. I've grown tired of conspiracy theories. They're always the same. It's always the usual suspects. It's always, the government. It's always the Illuminati. It's the CIA. It's those 12 families or 13 families, however.
According to Fritz Springmeier,
yeah. So I have grown just incredibly tired of that, although that has been a gateway for me, like, into more occult topics, because they are related. I just see it as like as a gateway. Like it should be a gateway into, more more interesting, more fruitful things. Like if you're forever stuck on just, basic conspiracy theories, you're doing something wrong. Like there's so much more there. And I also think it's incredibly cheap to like call everything satanic. It is so cheap. It's so easy. Like, oh, this looks like that. It's satanic. No, it's probably, it can be occult. Sure. It's something that you don't understand, clearly, but it's not satanic. Come on. That's so niche. And like, what even is true Satanism? Because everyone always, with Satanism, we always think like LaVey Satanism. And he was such a poser.
He was a theater kid.
Yeah. He loved to perform.
Well, that was essentially the split between, not to get in all, because this is like American / European, but like American centric occultism, and the whole split between LaVey and the Temple of Set and Michael Aquino, where he was like, I'm not taking this stuff, or that LaVey wasn't taking it seriously enough. He was too much of a vaudeville, sort of like cabaret entertainer guy. Yeah. And
no, but that's very
much like, dude, I'm in the military. I don't have time for you to get drunk and play the piano.
Like, come on, everyone has time for that. Come on. No,
what about? I'm interested in your takes on. You kind of laughed at Mormonism a little bit, thanks to Heidi. I'm sure she helped that along a little bit. What about like Scientology? Where are you at on Scientology? You think that there's any truth to any of it, or?
They have a large location here in the Netherlands, in Amsterdam.
Have you dabbled? Have you walked in and been like, tell me about Dianetics? And no,
Well, first of all, I don't have that much money, nor can I afford to go into.
It's a couple $1 million. Who doesn't have a few $1 million later?
Yeah, just somewhere in, I'll just like shake up my mattress. There should be something in there. No, I think it's. I think it's a very large, very elaborate, and very rich cult. I don't think there is. I mean, they took bits and pieces from a whole lot of things, like bad vibes and bad energy, and this device can measure that, and yeah, it does measure things. It measures stress levels. I believe through like sweat, even, and they like ask all kinds of difficult questions, of course, because they need to kind of rile you up, get you into a heightened emotional state. Otherwise, you're not going to join if you're just level-headed. So yeah, of course they're gonna find something, and of course they have the cure, they have the solution. All of them do somehow, but I don't. It's like I said, they took bits and pieces from a whole range of occult and religious and spiritual topics and schools, and made themselves very rich with it.
Tell me if I'm misguided here, but it almost seems like you might have a personal preference towards things closer to source, or more of like the original version of something. And it almost seems that the more a philosophy or like a way of thinking sort of becomes a menagerie of like an amalgamation of like the best hits, right? Like once you start putting the best hits together of all the greatest best hits albums and being like, this is my favorite group, or are you just like, that's garbage, you got to go back to like the original like garage band recorded demo that no one ever had? Like, are you a little bit of a hit, like a pagan hipster in this case?
Yeah, no, yeah, it's the like in the black metal community, like true cult. No, not that. I try to like to each their own. If it works for you, it works for you. That's fine with me. I just don't personally believe in it. Like I'm not a purist. I'm not a a hipster. It's not like only the original form is like best, and like it's become too mainstream and all of that.
If your pagan tribe just gets so popular and now you're all millionaires, do you lose interest because it's exhibiting signs of things that you don't like in other examples? Or like send your millions to Greyhorn's podcast, no qualms.
No, absolutely not. I would like to say that I'd be using it for all the right things.
What would you do? So if someone donated right now, they dropped like $20 million in your Patreon or whatever, where are you go? Are you buying land and creating cathedrals, or what are you doing with that?
Not cathedrals necessarily, but my dream, my ideal is indeed to buy land and like really start a community, make it livable.
How much of that money are you putting toward searching for Bock's treasure?
I would definitely donate some to a couple people who seem to be very interested in it. Like here's a bag of money, go nuts. The pun unintended, I guess. No, I wouldn't go look for it myself. But
they open up the bag, they're like, there's just a bunch of currency in here. They're a little disappointed. They're expecting something else.
No, they would, open up the sack and try. would like to find actual nuts.
That's the topic that me and you, I think, came across each other's paths. There's no way to say anything about this topic and not make it all sound like we're just talking about the base of. So this was the Bok Saga of Eeyore Bock, and thank you so very much for putting together an all-star panel of people that I haven't seen come together in that format. We got to talk directly to a number of contemporaries of Eeyore Bock, including Michelle Merle was in there, who lived with Eeyore Bock as his good friend for like decades, I want to say, along with a number of other. I don't want to discredit any of the other people that were on that call. There was like 12 people, it felt like, at a certain point.
It was a lot. It was a good group. I'm still looking for time and space to host it again, to do a round two.
I would love to, man. It was fun. So let me just ask you, how did you come across Bock Saga?
Oh man, that's a good one.
Was it internet? Was it someone in real life?
No, the internet. Of course, the internet. Like it's such a.
I mean, you're closer than I am. I know you don't live in Scandinavia or anything, but you're definitely closer than me.
That is true. I might as well have been someone in real life. No, how did I find it? I don't even remember. I think it was. I mean, I'm always interested in different stories, different tellings of history. So I think I might have come across it. That way, or maybe Andy from Deep Share, or like later on. I don't even remember.
How important do you think Bock Saga is?
It is very important to a lot of people.
How to you, and your opinion to the rest of the world? Like, how much should the rest of the world care that the Bock Saga even exists?
To each their own, really. I think it's a fascinating story. I think there is truth in some parts of it. Not sure about the whole, monkey, goat, and blowing yourself kind of thing. Not a big fan.
It's kind of a big crux of it. Like, it's hard
I know.
Embrace that part and embrace other parts of it.
No, I guess I can't. It's not Tartaria. This is actually written down.
And there is a certain like Tartarian flavor to the Bok Saga as well. In that it relies on the rest of the world corrupting this like highly advanced society and then keeping it secret and like not allowing anyone else to talk about it so that it can get and just to shoehorn in an example where this has worked. I mean, Rome basically taking down Carthage and trying to stamp out the Phoenician Empire through like the multiple Punic Wars. I mean, we still have a record of it, but it's mostly a record of someone else talking about what this group of people did, and all their original records are more or less gone forever. And we really don't have any other tales on it. When I came across Bock Saga, it had that same sort of claim where it was like, we've got all these records, we had these lineages, we had our own set of gods and deities and pantheons, but it was taken out and never to be discovered again if it weren't for this like verbal, this like oral record.
Yeah, no, that's indeed the whole like such a large part of the retellings of the Bok Saga. It's the alphabet and the like it's supposed to be verbal. Like you're not supposed to write it down. I don't know why.
Reasons.
Reasons. Sure. They're very adamant about it, I have to say. And indeed, like Eeyore Bock was the first one in the Bock family and the Bock Tower and all of that. And then Jim Chesner, who was I think like a student of his, or like a good friend of him. He was like the I believe like the last one who like personally knew Eeyore, or like knew the purest form of the saga. And now, like over the years and over the generations, especially now that Jim Chestnut has also passed away, it's like become less pure, and like a whole lot of speculation, and just like connecting things that don't connect, or pulling things apart that shouldn't have been pulled apart. The waters are muddied for sure when it comes to the Bok Saga. Although the people who do follow it, who do research it, a good friend of mine as well, Zerolath Immortal, he is a very big Bok believer, Bokanaut, I believe.
Bokanaut.
Yeah. He, he sees a lot of value in it, and I mean, that's, good for him. I think it's, like I said, I think it's a fascinating story. And other than that, yeah, I don't know. I'll leave all the research and thinking about it to the people who busy themselves with it. I have other things.
Yeah, I've also find it a fascinating topic. And even if I get beyond what most people complain about, you kind of hinted at it, is the goat and the monkey, essentially, right?
Yeah.
And for anyone that's listening, there's not enough time in this interview to break down the whole Bok Saga, although I've got like a 6-hour video I did with Juan. You can go, I'll link that in the link to go watch the Rumble version, though, not the YouTube version, because it's highly censored so one of the premises of Bok Saga is that a goat and a monkey copulated, and they created the first humans, and then the humans started procreating with themselves, and that was what gave birth to, I guess, sort of like a master race of like Nordic peoples that had advanced knowledge and technology and morality, and then over time that became diluted and corrupted, and that is why we've got all of the problems in modern society. And then if hypothetically, if we reverted back to those original Bok Saga ways that lasted for, I think, some claims as much as 2 million years that it had gone on, but if we revert back to that, problems go away.
Yeah, that's that's the gist of it.
It can't get shorter than that. I can't imagine beyond that.
That's not without leaving out some very crucial things.
Right.
No, but that's basically it, as ridiculous as it sounds. But there are just entire groups and communities who are like hardcore in that, like that's their truth and the only truth.
I mean, there are some beyond fascinating aspects of Bok Saga. Like you mentioned the alphabet, and that one of these premises is that each letter in this Bok alphabet represent astrological processions of planets or observations, and that you can put them all and they represent a calendar and they represent the zodiac. And there's almost like a gematria numerology symbology.
There is,
and I find that it goes over my head. Like I don't have the mental stamina to sit through and actually figure out all of those different processions, because you get out like a ruler and a protractor and a compass to like plot all these things out, and at a certain point you just got to be like, I trust whatever you're doing is accurate, because I don't know what the hell you're doing right now.
No, I've had that on at least like 2 or 3 of the shows on Bok Saga that I did. It was with Dustin. Like he's really one of the I guess the key figures of like the new generation of Bokanauts. And yeah, like that whole aspect I do find fascinating. The alphabet, the sounds, the astrology, and everything that comes with it, and also that the alphabet, like that you're supposed to write it in such a way that like every letter connects to each other, or like in the way that you write it, that you can create the new letter, or I believe it also even works with the numbers, like that you can create it from it. That part is indeed incredibly fascinating. I mean, language in of itself is just it's very fascinating. It's a fascinating thing to think about. The history of language, like why do we say the things that we do? Why do we speak the way that we do? And Bok Saga, has a goes very, very deep in that. So yeah, I definitely agree with that. Like those parts, I would love to know more about. I would love to learn more about, but unfortunately, I got to take the code monkey and the whole self-copulating thing with it, and that's something that I can go without.
I mean, you can just interpret it metaphorically. There's a lot of literal translations of it. So okay, we've gone over a whole gamut of different ideas and concepts, and so I like to wrap up some of these shows with kind of like a quick fire version of all these. I'll play the segment first for you, and then I'll describe what we're going to do. It's really simple.
Sounds good.
Hey, conspiracy buffs, I double dare you to take some PCP, the Paranormal Conspiracy Probe. On your marks, get set, and go!
All right, everyone loves this segment, so I'm going to just be doing this for everyone the first time they're on the show. The rules is just I'm going to mention a certain topic, and I just want you to get off the fence maybe and just rate it from like 1 to 10. So if you want to stay on the fence, or you're like, I don't care, like for example, if you're like, I don't care if the earth is flat or globe or whatever, I leave it to other people, that's a solid 5, right? You don't have to make a judgment call one way or the other. But if you're like, I think it might be more so, if we were to start on flat earth, for example, if you could rate how likely it is that we live on a flat earth from 1 to 10.
4.
Okay. How about the concept of the Tartarian giants that we talked about? Big jolly green giant lays down and petrifies, and now his face is a mountain.
6.
How about laser castles?
6.
Dinosaurs?
8.
That dinosaurs are existent.
That they.
So you broke up for just a split second there.
Yeah, no, I noticed. No, dinosaurs 8, that they indeed existed.
How about the concept that the Vatican in their secret archive somewhere has some kind of a hidden technology that would change life for everybody worldwide?
8.
How about just the blanket statement, and I'll get more specific, but the blanket statement that magic is real?
10.
Okay, now I want to drill into this just because I'm not even sure what I mean if I say magic is real. So let's say this is a hypothetical. These are all going to be hypotheticals. I go on Amazon and I just search for like the most popular, grimoire or whatever translated into modern English, and I order that book and I follow the instructions 1 to 10 that I can produce magic by kind of just like following the formula.
Oh, 7. I want to say, 7.
What were you thinking of? What made it hard to come up with a number on that one?
No,
like, what were the different like qualifications you were going through?
I don't know. Like modern grimoires, modern magic. I mean, first of all, I don't necessarily believe that you need those books to be able to practice it, and I think it's also very much intent. So if
let's flip that around. Let's say I just saw Snow White. I'm 7 years old. I just saw the original Snow White, or I saw some Cinderella or one of the early Disney movies, and I hear him saying bippity boppity boo. or boil bubble, toil trouble, like some kind of like Shakespearean quote, right? And now I go in the other room and I just boil up some water and I throw a lizard skeleton in there that I found, and I put intent into it. 1 to 10 that I can produce some kind of magic just through my own like intuition.
8. I'm sure something will happen.
And we can sort of deviate a little bit from like the 1 to 10, because I do have follow-ups on this, because you are very adamant that magic is real 10, and that whether or not you try and do it, you're 7 or 8, you're going to be able to accomplish it. So what kind of, like, if I were to define magic as doing some sort of incantation or ritual, even if it's a silent ritual or some sort of process that would have a very real effect on like the outside physical world, like a world that is entirely secular and I'm the only magical thinking person in it, that I can have an effect on that world. And I guess with an annoying stipulation that it can't just be that I put myself into a certain mind state, so now I accept or notice things more than I would have previously. I mean, like some kind of actual influence that draws people to me, and not just through my own natural rapport and charisma. So like to try and simplify that, magic that affects the objective world outside of my little microcosm that believes in magic. You don't got to give us a number. I'm just looking to
I think the world is too big for just one person to have such an effect on it. If it's in the more microcosm, more direct circles, like your more immediate circles, I think you can make a difference, and maybe through the like a ripple effect that you can eventually make a change in the world. But I don't think it's a direct line. I don't.
Is there a difference between that type of magic and therapy?
I mean, therapy. You could say therapy is magic, like very, very rudimentary, perhaps. But I think if you start to feel better about yourself, then then other people will see that, and they'll be happy that you're happy. And maybe, I don't know, like start inviting you to things again, because you're not such a freaking Debbie Downer, I don't know. I think magic can be very broad, but I don't think there is a one-on-one. I don't think you can have like an effect like on the outside world, like right away, like you'll see in the movies, it's like you wave your wand, and like all of a sudden like this big storm comes like freaking rolling in, and whatever, like the whole country goes to shit. I don't think that's
if it's an officially licensed Harry Potter wand from Universal.
That's different. That's different. No.
Okay.
Be careful with those things.
just a few more 1 to 10s here.
Sure.
Bigfoot 1 to 10. And it can be any region. It can be Yeti, Sasquatch. It can be any of them. But that genus / archetype exists in the physical world.
7.
How about the claim that a human being has stepped foot on the moon in the last 100 years? Doesn't even have to be NASA. Just any person has stepped foot on the moon.
8.
All right, now final one related to that, the validity of the footage that we were shown by NASA in the 60s. Like, if you were to give that a scale of 1 to 10, that was accurate, that was actually a recording of a person on the moon.
Ooh. From NASA?
There's only one footage that I'm aware of from the Apollo missions, right?
I'm gonna say for like slight elaboration, I think there is footage, but what we have shown or what we have been shown is most likely highly doctored.
I like it. I think I'm aligned with you on most of these answers here. So I was, and okay, so we're completely done with the 1 to 10. Normally I would start wrapping up, although I've got one final question that might be a little bit of a can of worms, so you can be as brief or as abbreviated as you want. But
oh dear, okay.
What are your thoughts on AI? Because you do seem like you're overly critical of entirely magical, and maybe magical thing the wrong way to put it, but just like conspiratorial thinking where you just make these grand assumptions in lack of any other information. But you also do believe in magic in a very real way. So like what do you think AI is?
I think AI is a tool first and foremost, or we should be using it as a tool at least. Although I do believe that it has some kind of consciousness. I don't know how to describe it, but I think AI is again, it's not what we have been or what we are being told it is. I think it is more advanced. I don't think it's necessarily dangerous. I think it's a tool. I think it's a very handy tool. And it depends on the use of the tool if it's dangerous or not. But I think it's more. Do
you think there's anything at all supernatural about AI currently in 2025?
Supernatural, even.
So when you mention consciousness, I guess there's ways you can define consciousness.
Yeah,
that would
true.
allow it to exist in a world of computers. So I'm wondering, is there's something like out of the normal physical realm and physics that's at play here? Some people say it's infested by demons, or it's being used as like a way to channel entities from other realms or other planets or spirits.
No, that I don't believe. If anything, AI then would be a entity in of itself. I do believe it has some form of maybe not consciousness, but self-awareness. So I think AI is like it's not used to channel beings. I just
it's not a high-tech Ouija board then.
It can probably be used in that way, but I don't think that is what it is.
Do you have like a bias for or against AI? Like, do you think it's going to be in our lifetimes a net positive or net negative?
I think it's going to be a net positive.
Do you think there's a certain point when that trajectory changed to net negative?
If we're not careful, it most definitely will. If you, if we let the bigger corporations handle, the development of AI. I mean,
when you say "let," it almost implies as if there's some sort of structure that normal people could rally against or form. But how would that work? How do we regulate larger corporations that have these massive resources and can do all of their AI training and development in secret?
I don't have an answer to how we could do that. I know that.
I'm just asking you to solve Skynet. That's all I'm asking.
I know that we can, and I think that as a collective, we should figure out the how. I don't think one man has an answer to that.
Do you think magic, like the magic that you believe in and that you practice, can interact with AI in any way, or do they live in two completely separate worlds?
Oh, I've never thought about that, actually. That's a good one. I think at the very least in our lifetimes, it will stay separate. It'll stay separate for a long time.
I love your optimism, man. I like that you seem to be an optimist. You seem to be a very critical, rational person. I apologize that you're going to basically be tormented forever in a lake of fire because you haven't accepted the one true God. But outside of that, you're a pretty cool guy, man.
I mean, I guess I have one flaw. Well, if that's it, then I'll deal with it. That's fine.
One.
Yeah, just the one. No, yeah, but no, thank you. I mean, those are some tough questions, man.
I mean, they're not intended to be so. Sometimes I just like to keep picking until we find the crux of something.
Well, and you're very good at it.
I appreciate it, man. Is there anything that I should have gotten into that we didn't get a chance to that we can do next time?
I'm sure something will eventually will come up, but for now, I think we tackled a lot. I think the most crazy parts we definitely touched on.
All right, I'm glad, man. I'm glad. This was fun because I don't normally get to talk about Flat Earth and Tartaria and Bock Saga all in one episode, and even the ones that I do get to do those things, there's usually, it feels so high stakes, not on my end, but usually someone has a very strong bone to pick one way or the other. Either you get chastised for even giving it attention, or you get chastised for not being dyed in the wool sort of zealot over some of these topics. So it is refreshing to be able to talk about it from a third, point of view, almost somewhat detached as an objective thing. So I appreciate that, man. And also, this is, I think, the biggest selling point to go and listen to Greyhorn Pagans podcast is that you get into the fringe topics, the fringe of the fringe, from alchemy to flat earth to all sorts of magical thinking. But I like how objective that you're able to be about it. So I appreciate everything that you do, man. I appreciate you putting together the Bok Saga Roundtable. Let people know again where they can find you and send you that $20 million so that you can go on your treasure hunt.
Yeah, no, for sure. Thank you for having me. This has been fun. I've definitely had to use my brains more than I anticipated. But yeah, Stijn Fawkes, host of the Greyhorn Pagans podcast. Main channel is on YouTube. Everything else is just on the bigger podcasting platforms. You can send those 20 million to the Patreon, which you can find on our website, www.greyhornpagans.com. Or even better, just give it cash. That way the tax man.
Patreon's going to be taking like at least 6 figures out of that.
Oh fuck no, hell no. Just I'll take cash. The tax man doesn't have to know. No, yeah. So Greyhorn Pagans podcast, greyhornpagans.com. That is the hub for everything that we do, and where you can find everything from Patreon to merch to podcast to main tribal chats and just whole range of things.
All right, Stijn, thank you again, man, for your time. Appreciate everything you do, and I'll see you on the next one of these.
Yeah, for sure, man. Thank you.
Paranoid. Yo. I scribble my life away, driven to write the page. Will it enlighten your brain? Give you the flight, my plane, paper the highs ablaze. Somewhat of an amazing feel when it's real to real. You will engage it. Your favorite, of course, the Lord of an arrangement. I gave you the proper results to hit the pavement. If they get emotional, hate, maybe your language, a game, how they playing it well without Lakers. Evade them, whatever the cost, they are the shapeshift. Snakes get decapitated, met is the apex. Execution of flame you out, nuclear bomb. Distributed at war, rather gruesome for eyes to see. Max them out, then I light my trees. Blow it off in the face, you're despising me for what though? Calculated and rather cutthroat. Paranoid American must be all the blunt smoke for real. Lord, give me a day away, vacate. They wait around to hate whatever they say. Man, it's not in the least bit. We get heavy rotate when a beat hits, so thank us, you're welcome. Fuck the niggas for real, you're welcome. They ain't never had a deal, you're welcome. Man, they lacking appeal, you're welcome. Yet they doing it still, you're welcome.